fear and despise me.
What happens when Death gets tired of their job and shows up as a talking bird? Well,
Tuesday.
buckle up for this wild ride through grief, denial, and the most unconventional family therapy session you've ever seen. We open with Death's perspective, and let me tell you, this isn't your typical Grim Reaper in a black hood. Death appears as a large, grimy macaw. Think of a parrot that's seen way too much and needs a serious shower. There's this constant static sound in the background, like an old radio that's stuck between stations, mixed with people calling for help. It's basically the soundtrack to existential dread. Death flies around doing what Death does, collecting souls. But here's the thing, our feathered friend is absolutely miserable. The constant buzzing of flies and the unbearable noise of people begging for the end has turned this into the worst job in the universe. The Death is literally suffering from burnout, which is ironic when you think about it. So we meet Zora, a writer who's dealing with every parent's worst nightmare. Her teenage daughter Tuesday is terminally ill and basically dying, which is about as heavy as it gets. But here's the thing, Zora is handling this situation like a champion of denial. She's got a full-time nurse named Billy taking care of Tuesday. Zora gives instructions to Nurse Billy and then races out the front door without saying goodbye. Classic avoidance behavior that we'll see a lot more of. While she's out there pretending everything's fine, avoiding her daughter like she's got the plague instead of, actually being there for her. Tuesday is stuck at home, clearly lonely and in serious pain, while her mom is off selling her doll collection and doing literally anything to avoid facing reality. The kid is basically abandoned to deal with her impending death with just her nurse for company. Not exactly Mother of the Year material here. Then things get weird. And I mean really weird. One day this strange macaw flies into Tuesday's backyard. Now, you'd think a talking bird would be surprising enough. But this particular bird drops a bombshell. He's Death. Like actual death. The Grim Reaper decided to show up as a colorful parrot, which honestly feels like the universe has a sense of humor about these things. Tuesday, being surprisingly chill about meeting the embodiment of mortality, immediately understands what's happening. She and Death actually bond over this whole situation.
So, him and his penguins go off, and there's a dozen penguins. I told you to take these animals directly to the zoo. We went to the zoo yesterday. Today we're going to the beach.
She helps him rest for a moment, and then makes a simple request. She wants to talk to her mother before she goes. Death agrees, which is weirdly accommodating for an eternal force of nature.
What's usually in your head?
Calling me to kill them. Everyone's pain. Always voices. Forever.
When Zora finally comes home, she's still in full avoidance mode, trying to ignore her daughter like she's been doing this whole time. But Tuesday manages to get her up to her room and drops the news. Mom, I'm dying tonight.
What? Don't say stupid things like that.
Could you please come out and talk to her?
Then she introduces her to Death, the macaw. Now here's where Zora really goes through it.
Every life ends. You need to say goodbye. You cannot avoid me.
First, she's in complete denial. She's like, absolutely not. This is not happening. She refuses to accept that this bird is Death and that her daughter is about to leave her. Classic stage one of grief right there. But when the reality starts sinking in that this macaw really is Death, Zora moves straight into anger. She is not having it. She literally tries everything in her power to get Death away from her daughter. She takes the bird outside and tries to kill him, beating him, burning him, doing everything she can think of to make him disappear. When none of that works, Zora does something absolutely insane. She swallows the bird, just straight up eats Death like it's some kind of twisted solution to her problem. After a thorough mouthwash session, she goes back to Tuesday and tells her that Death flew away, so they have more time. But here's the thing about holding the personification of Death hostage in your stomach. It has consequences. The world around her starts falling apart. People and animals who desperately need to die, who are begging for release from their suffering, can't get it because Zora is literally keeping death prisoner inside her body. But while this is happening, Zora is also going through some pretty wild physical changes. She suddenly swells up to enormous size, just like the Deathbird did when he first appeared. Billy, Tuesday's nurse, shows up and finds giant Zora sitting in their house, then watches her shrink down to the size of a rodent. Zora is screaming and having trouble breathing through all of this. The Billy fills them in on what's happening in the outside world, basically apocalyptic stuff, because Death is trapped and can't do his job. As she's walking around with death in her stomach, Zora starts hearing the world's pain. She can hear people crying out, begging for death to end their suffering. The weight of all this agony starts crushing her, and she falls into a deep depression. She's not just dealing with her own grief anymore, she's carrying the suffering of everyone who needs death but can't reach him. Meanwhile, the Tuesday is watching her mother go through this transformation and realizes she needs to help her mom face reality. So she starts working with Zora to use Death's powers to actually help people. They begin granting people their wish to pass away and end their suffering. This becomes a weird kind of therapy for Zora. As she waves her hand and lets people go, they thank her. She starts to understand that death isn't just this evil force, it can actually be a gift. People are grateful when she helps them find peace. It's a completely different way of looking at mortality. They take Zora to the forest to help her deal with whatever's going on inside her. Tuesday and Zora spend the night walking around, granting people the gift of death. Eventually, they end up on a beach. Zora, still not fully accepting reality, tells Tuesday they can do this long term. They can work together, helping people die while somehow keeping Tuesday alive. She's basically suggesting they become a mother-daughter-death dealing team, which is not exactly a sustainable life plan. But Tuesday is exhausted. She's in terrible pain and really wants her suffering to end. While they're on the beach, Zora starts hearing her daughter doing breathing techniques and finally feels Tuesday's pain herself. She hears her daughter's thoughts and understands just how much Tuesday is suffering. This is the moment when Zora finally reaches acceptance. She realizes she's been selfish, trying to keep Tuesday alive for her own sake, rather than thinking about what's best for her daughter. So Zora vomits up the Deathbird and tells him she needs one more moment to speak with her daughter.
You ate me.
She asks him to please allow Tuesday to die peacefully. The Death grants this wish, and Zora has a meaningful conversation with Tuesday. She tells her daughter it's okay to go, that she'll be fine, and that from now on she only wants what's best for Tuesday. Tuesday, relieved that her mother has finally reached the acceptance stage,
I love you so much more than me.
reassures Zora that everything will be okay. With her mother's permission and understanding, Tuesday peacefully dies at home. Now, you'd think the movie would end there, but it doesn't. We see what happens after you lose someone that's significant in your life. Zora is completely empty and lonely. She's walking around in a haze with no sense of purpose or meaning. Anyone who's lost someone important knows exactly this feeling, that unbearable grief where you feel like you're just going through the motions of living. Zora is so lost that when death appears in her life again, she asks him to take her too.
No.
She tells him she doesn't know what she's here for now that Tuesday is gone, that she doesn't know what her purpose is, and that she wants to be with her daughter. But death reminds her of the promise she made to Tuesday, that she would live for Tuesday's legacy. He essentially tells her that living and moving forward, as painful as it is when you've lost someone you love so much, is what she promised to do. The whole movie is basically about going through the 5 stages of grief. Death's reminder about living for Tuesday's legacy suggests that sometimes the best way to honor someone we've lost is to keep going, even when it's the last thing we want to do. If this recap helped you decide whether to watch the movie, smash that like button because it genuinely helps me know what kind of content resonates with you.